Well, hi there. Welcome to Snyder's. It's me, Music Biz News. This first topic, it's a little weird, and it's probably not going to be the most immediate new thing in our industry or data storage, and it might be decades later before this becomes current, but perhaps this is how music, and most all of the arts, but especially music, will be stored in the future using organic DNA. An entire book was written in DNA, and you can buy it for $60. What may be the first commercially available book saved in DNA is the latest example of how consumers might use molecular data storage. As the rate of humanity's data creation increases exponentially with the rise of AI, which needs a lot of memory, scientists have been interested in DNA as a way to store digital information. After all, DNA is nature's way of storing data. It encodes genetic information and determines the blueprint of every living thing on Earth. Every living thing, not artificial thing. Every living thing. And DNA is at least 1,000 times more compact than a solid-state hard drive. To demonstrate just how compact, researchers have previously encoded all of Shakespeare's 154 sonnets, 52 pages of Mozart's music, and an episode of Netflix showed biohackers into tiny amounts of DNA. DNA data storage isn't mainstream yet, but it might be getting closer. Now you can buy what may be the first commercially available book written in DNA. Today, Asimov Press debuted an anthology of biotech essays and science fiction stories encoded in strands of DNA. For $60, you can get a physical copy of the book, plus the nucleic acid version, a metal capsule filled with dried DNA. To encode the book in DNA, Asimov Press worked with this company in Boston named Catalog, which created approximately 500,000 unique DNA molecules to encode the 240 pages in the book that represented 481,280 bytes of data. So how does it work? Traditional DNA data storage works by converting a digital file's binary code of zeros and ones, which we're all familiar with, into A's, C's, G's, and T's, the building blocks of DNA. Custom DNA strands are chemically synthesized letter by letter to match the desired sequence. This is a case where you encode something in DNA once and you can make as many replicas as you want using the tools of molecular biology. It's fairly easy to do this in volume. In 2023, French company BioMemory started offering $1,000 DNA storage cards that allow customers to store 1K of data, equivalent to a short email of their choosing. $1,000 for 1K. But we're just at the beginning here. Remember when my first computer was a Commodore 64? The 64 meant 64K. So that was just the beginning. And the C64s, the Commodore 64s, weren't exactly cheap. After the catalog did the encoding, the company did the encoding, the DNA molecules were dried into a powder and shipped to France, where biological storage firm Imagine packaged the molecules into stainless steel capsules with an inert internal atmosphere, meaning there is no oxygen or moisture inside. In this state, DNA can be preserved for thousands of years. And remember in a previous episode how I reported that hard drives are beginning to crash. What we thought would last forever isn't lasting forever, solid-state hard drives. And when they crash, there is no recovery of the data. It's gone, gone, gone. So here's a new storage medium in DNA that is supposed to last for thousands of years. The ability to put a capsule full of DNA on a shelf or in a drawer, forget about it, is a major part of its appeal as a storage medium. DNA could potentially replace energy-guzzling data centers, and they're having to build tons of these all over the planet for AI to store all of the data that it is making and scraping and putting together and synthesizing. Unlike storing data on servers, which requires constant energy use, DNA can sit on a shelf for years without needing energy until that data is retrieved. And here's an announcement that the encoding process was just made 350 times faster. And that's one of the drawbacks right now of this technology is it takes a very, very, very long time to put this data into DNA format to create these molecules of DNA. So this could be a perfect match between AI and DNA. There was an email in the Bob Lefsetz newsletter that mentioned papering the house. And those who promote concerts and events probably are familiar with this term, but to be honest with you, it was the first time that I've at least paid attention to it. Only one market addresses papering of the house properly, that's in New York. I promoted a show at Carnegie Hall last year that was 400 shy of a sellout, and the agent was obsessed about making sure those seats were filled. And this is Papering the House. They have an official Papering the House company in New York that distributes comps to people who are registered on their website on 48 hours notice. The requirements are they must show up in person to pick up their tickets, usually at a location just down the street from the box office. The Carnegie Hall box office fully cooperates with this, and they must stay in their seats the entire show, or a company rep who is a marshal at the show will note their departure and take them off the list. And of course, they don't do this in front of everybody because all these people who have spent hundreds of dollars for tickets would probably be a little pissed off to find out that all of these other tickets were given away for free. Paper in the House, which does not include the practice of giving away a limited number of promo tickets for radio station giveaways, back when they used to do that, and comp tickets to members of the media and the industry, is a sensitive subject in the concert business. Everybody does it from time to time, but nobody likes to talk about it. It's very embarrassing for both the artist and the venue. One reason for their reticence is that papering is one of the tricks of the trade to give the illusion of success. Many in the concert industry would prefer that audiences didn't realize that there's sometimes a difference between appearance and reality, that one can't simply look at the size of the audience as an accurate gauge of a performer's drawing power. But no one denies that papering is a common practice. Papering the house is usually carried out, like I said before, about 48 hours before a show, when they realize it's not going to be sold out. It's a form of promotion. The venue is sitting there anyway, so if they give out free tickets, they're going to get some money back in parking and refreshments. I guess you're allowed to get out of the seat to go buy a snow cone or beer or something like that, or go to the bathroom, hopefully. All of you have probably seen charts like this that shows per stream royalty rates for streamers, and thought maybe Apple or Tidal cared more about artists than Spotify, based on how much they supposedly pay per stream in comparison. But that's not the case. This is from, again, a Bob Lefsetz newsletter. The public will still believe that Spotify pays a per stream rate and will state that Apple pays more per stream, not knowing that's because Apple subscribers are less active listeners. Once again, it's a pool of money divided based on overall listens. Everybody does it the same way, but Spotify gets the heat because it's the dominant service. Active listeners are on Spotify. So everybody, all the streamers, have a bucket of money, royalties, and those royalties are split up by how many times somebody listens to a song. Spotify and the other streamers have found a way to pay even less money to copyright holders, artists, for playing their music. And it is through bundling. And as mentioned in an earlier podcast, Spotify decided to get into audiobooks, which seemed like a pretty cool deal. And they created a premier subscription where you would get both your music and your audiobooks all with one subscription. And the content of that previous podcast was that AI was going to flood audiobooks into Spotify. And so this is another angle that songwriters are more pissed off about. Most people will pay the small difference in cost to get access to the audiobooks on Spotify. Bundle or bungle in the streaming jungle. The fight over mechanical royalties in April 2024, Spotify announced a price increase for its ad-free premium subscription plan. This is a second price increase in 10 months and will go into effect in the U.S. later this year. According to Spotify, the latest price increase is tied to the addition of audiobook offerings to premium subscription plan. Although Spotify initially added audiobooks to the premium service in 2023 without additional cost, the impending price increase, coupled with the introduction of audiobook-only and music-only plans, coincide with strategic reclassification of the premium subscription plan as a bundle. This reclassification is significant because it directly impacts the mechanical royalty fees that Spotify is required to pay to rights holders. Despite raising prices for subscribers, a perennial desire of songwriters and publishers, royalty payments are projected to plummet. Under applicable law, bundle services offerings allows a service provider to silo revenues derived from each service source. As such, only the revenues that are attributed to that source are used to calculate royalties due to participating rights holders. The end result is a smaller pie to share with eligible stakeholders. Although both Amazon and Apple have taken advantage of bundle accounting and discounts, Spotify's reclassification move appears to be a bridge too far for rights holders. In real numbers, some suggest that the bundle discount means Spotify, as the market leader, will pay $150 million less in mechanical royalties in 2024. And just in case you don't know, mechanical royalty, or MECs, if you're not familiar with that term, had to do with something that is mechanically reproduced. In other words, back when they were making CDs, one CD sold would generate a mechanical royalty because the CD was created through machinery. And even though now everything's digital, they still count these as mechanical royalties. The net portion of a mechanical revenue derived from bundled services is determined by calculating the value of a service offering as a standalone offering relative to the combined value of the premium bundle subscription placed specific service offering. For purposes of the Spotify premium service, the value of music offering is approximately 52% of the overall subscription because it's being bundled with audiobooks, which takes up the other portion. The resulting reduction is now applied to revenues collected from almost 50 million Spotify premium subscribers receiving bundled services. As another email pointed out in Bob Lefsetz's email, users pay $11 for a bundle and they listen to podcasts and audiobooks. 25% of the time means less money for music than someone paying $9 for music only. Do you know how someone gets a music-only account on Spotify? I don't. It's very hard to figure out. Few U.S. Spotify subscribers have opted out of higher-priced music audiobook bundle survey finds. So these bundles, although they cost more to subscribe to, and on the surface it would look like the musicians would make more money, or the copyright holders of the music would make more money, actually they're making considerably less because now they're having to make room for audiobooks. And the audiobooks are taking a good chunk, almost half of what the music-only subscribers would be contributing to the artist. And Apple Music could easily pull a Spotify and shift entirely to bundled offerings. And so far, Apple Music classified almost 92% of individual subscriptions as non-bundles in February of this year. That was in 2024. So if you only subscribe to Apple Music, the artists are making more money. But if you subscribe to Apple One, which is a bundle, then even though you're listening to the same song that you would if you were only subscribed to Apple Music, the artist, whoever owns the copyrights, would still be making less royalties because it's part of a bundle. Time for Jonesy's Cat Shit Crazy Pick. It was January 18th of this year, and the world, as we all knew it, was about to come to a drastic change, metamorphosis, if you will. And that is because TikTok was going to be turned off if somebody didn't buy TikTok. And the Chinese don't want to sell TikTok because of the algorithm. They will sell the brand, but most people don't realize it is the way that the algorithms are written for TikTok that makes it so popular. And they're not going to give that up. So that's why you don't suddenly have a whole bunch of people buying TikTok, because they would only be buying the brand, basically not the coding behind the brand, because the Chinese aren't going to give that up. Anyway, so TikTok went dark. And everybody was freaking out. So on January 18th, with this impending shutdown, with this apocalypse, social media apocalypse, the news channels were lit up with the news of a potential savior. That's right, not Elon Musk, Bob Dylan. It must be tough being an iconoclast. The temptation to join with the popular taste must be resisted. This could mean you're a visionary arriving early at an alternative trend, or to quote Bob Dylan, too late, too late, too late, too late, etc., to catch on to the latest thing. Dylan's maiden post included a montage of his various eras set to, like a Rolling Stone and Knocking on Heaven's Door and Hurricane, with a caption that invited scrollers to explore the world of Bob Dylan, now on TikTok. This was 2 days before TikTok was going to go dark. Bob Dylan suddenly jumps in, says, "Hey, I'm here. I'm a TikToker." One may be tempted to dismiss this late entry to a doomed medium as a work of an old-timer who's lost touch, or more likely a young person who handles his socials. Now, somebody who he pays to handle his social media suddenly realized Bob Dylan needs to be on TikTok. For most artists of a certain age, I would accept that reasoning, but those who know Dylan know better. This is yet another masterpiece by music's premier troll. Or maybe he was just pissed at Spotify after seeing this article comparing Bob Dylan and Coldplay as far as who's popular in culture, and said, "Oh, screw you, I'm going to go to TikTok." He probably didn't even know TikTok was about to go dark in 2 days. Well, anyway, by now everybody knows TikTok is back. And it is resurrected. They didn't even wait 3 days. It was dark only for like 18 hours or so before they said, we're back, and the world suddenly lit up with praise and happiness. But I don't think the world realizes that there's got to be a correlation between it being brought back to life and Bob Dylan just 48 hours earlier deciding to join Tik-Tok. I think that was the difference. I think Bob Dylan should get credit for Tik-Tok being brought back to the masses. Bob Dylan saved Tik-Tok. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. So that's all for this episode. Be sure and like and subscribe and do all those things. And see you later.